Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, it's Dr. Phil here, and we are going to divert a little bit from our usual bird, opal, fossil related antics, and we're going to deal with, well, safety switches, obviously. What a great pivot. What I'm trying to do as a responsible human being is to make jewellery as well, and so I'm trying to source precious metals and various other things using other means than, just digging holes in the ground, and these things usually get thrown away and people don't necessarily know what's inside of them. And so what I was going to do is I'm going to do a quick rundown of what these things actually are, bearing in mind I'm not an electrician. As a matter of fact, I'm barely coherent about what's going on. The only reason I know anything about them is because I've opened up a few. And so a lot of what I'm going to talk to you about is guesswork, and I have tried to research it, but it's actually quite difficult to find any information whatsoever about these things. So I'm going to tear it down, and I'm going to rely on the comment section for actual electricians and qualified people to basically explain the things that I've gotten wrong. I think I know how they work, but all I'm interested in is the materials that we need to recover from them. So this is a safety switch. This is a circuit breaker over here. Similar device, but slightly different. And there's another type of circuit breaker here. I do believe they call this a 2-pole circuit breaker. Please don't kill me if I get it wrong. They have the required amps and voltages and whatever they cut off on sitting there. And this, I think, is a 3-pole, although it looks like just basically 3 single-pole switches bolted together. I'll open this up in a little while. It's fairly heavy, which is an encouraging sign. But what I'm going to do is I've got this guy because I'm reasonably certain of what I'm going to find inside. I might not find what I'm expecting because, well, this is fairly terra incognito. All I'm interested in doing is recovering materials, really. So I've got my gender neutral screwdriver here. I've got a few other pieces and bobs. I've got a pair of... This is for unscrewing parts of a tool, basically. I've got a flat blade screwdriver, which is less gender neutral. I've got some bolt cutters. I've got some vice grips, which are very, very past their use by date. And I've got some pliers. And there's a hammer if I need it. And quite frankly, if you get stuck on what to do with these particular things, a hammer actually works great. But there is an easier way. Discover this. So what I'm going to do first up is I am going to just essentially get the screws out of there. And what we're going to do is we're going to start looking around. Oh, I've got one other thing. Have I got it around? Looking around. Yeah, I can see it. It's an interesting thing, and I'll explain it to you in a second. I'm just going to put this down and grab the final piece of equipment, which is, of course, a salvage speaker. There's actually quite a handy little property that these things have, if you can allow me to demonstrate. There you go, see? Magnetic. And in order to find ferrous material or non-ferrous material, a magnet is always quite handy. So at any rate, back to the non-gender specific screwdriver. Let's get this guy open. And basically what these are clamps to hold on a wire. So you stick a wire in and then you screw that up and the clamps go in. Just so that you know, there are 3 lines that go in here and there's one earth. I think the 4th one there is the earth. And why that matters, who knows? Actually, it's because electrons travel in a circuit. They always, well, let's just say they travel in a circuit and they need to return back to base. But it's far more complicated than that. Very Clayton's explanation of what's going on there. Okay, so here's point number 1 now. Is this the beginning or the end? Okay, cool. This is the beginning. This is where the current goes in. So I'll pull one of these bad boys out, actually, if I can. Oh, so you can. You do need to unscrew them. Okay, so the architecture is slightly different to some of the other units that I've been taking apart. That's okay. The principles are generally the same. We'll probably find a few little differences. And so when I say it's magic, just believe me, it's magic. Okay, so one of the things that's really important is that they need to have as true as possible a representation of the power that's going into your home in these bad boys. And why is that not coming out so easily? Oh, because it's screwed in. You need to have as true a representation as possible of the power going in, because it's a safety switch. You want to know if something is overloading or overheating or overcooking or over something. There's one day over the rainbow. Or somewhere over the rainbow. Who knows? Whatever you do, you way pies, don't you? Way up high. Okay, so there's a spring there. I don't think that matters too much. It just holds the whole business together. So what you've got here is you've got a clampy doovie, which is this guy. I think we'll bring out the magnet at this point. Got a clampy doovie, and I happen to know from the looks of this thing, I think this is just ferrous. It's got a slight coating of brass maybe on the top, but yeah, pretty much. So that thing, the wire goes into there. We'll say this wire, this is the wire, and then the screw goes in and Bob's your auntie. So these pieces, now I've been conjecturing to myself, these look pretty good. They might be silver, or at least a silver alloy of some description. And look how big it is. I'll grab a scale and weigh it. The reason that I'm a bit skeptical is it's just a bit too light, I reckon. A bit too light. So we'll weigh it and have a look. One of these will do it. Okay, so stick it on there. And according to the scale, it's 4 grams. Now, what is the weight of silver? The density of silver is 11 grams per cubic centimetre. So what you've got to be saying is this guy has to be in the realm of half a cubic centimetre of metal. That's possible. It might well be. Okay. Regardless of whether this thing is actually silver or not, I definitely know that up on top here is a contact point. That is definitely silver. So let me just remove that. Right, there we go. So there is a silver contact point. Those are definitely silver. We can weigh that one again because that will actually give us a good result. So what have we got here? 68 grams, so we'll have to tear it again. We'll put something on it. That's a good idea. Okay, tear and tear. Okay, good. How much does it weigh? Doesn't weigh anything according to that, so it's a fraction of a gram. So we'll tear the top of it. Are we good? Okay, 1/3 of a gram. I don't know what that is in pounds, I'm sorry. Not very many ounces. I'll do some calculations later. All right, so we've got 1/3 of a gram. 1/3 of a gram is 2 carats or thereabouts, roughly 2 carats, if that helps. Okay, so we've got this contact point, which may or may not be silver. We've got this thing that definitely is silver. Now, why are we dealing with so much silver here? I'm glad you asked. The reason is, as I was saying before, we want a true representation of the current that's going into this device here and out of this device, because we want to measure it. We want to know if the thing is safe or not. As we go deeper into the guts of the thing, we'll find more and more silver and silver connections. You can see here, this is probably silver. I'm looking at this ropey, wiry part, and I'm pretty certain that's silver as well. So let's get into it. What's the best tool to use? I think this will do. Okay. Levered the top off. That's what the top looks like. And so we're down into the guts now. Just so that you know, I've got a few containers sitting around here. This one is when I'm assuming silver, and I will assume that that's silver, it's going to go into this particular container here for silver. There are some silver copper mixes. As a general rule, you'll probably find that all of this is mixed with copper, even the best of it. It'll be a 10% mixture, basically. That's what I've heard. But like, you see, the thing is, I've seen a few YouTube videos on this, and I've not really gotten some good info on it. And part of this is a cry for help. Sorry, I'm just cleaning up as we go because things are about to get messy. We've got some springs here. They're stainless steel. Or are they? No, they're not stainless. They're just ordinary. Oh, actually, I'll keep that in this one because this is cleaner. And this one is going to contain some silver. Sorry, I'm sorting myself out. It's good that I managed to keep this cover intact. I quite like that. Right, so what have we got in here? So what I'm going to do is, like I said, it's going to be a basic breakdown. And what I'm going to do, for the sake of convenience, I'm going to refer to this assembly here as magic. Because there's a bit of circuitry and there's a bit of hoodoo that's going on in there. Basically what will happen, you'll see that one of these will be actually directly connected to this mechanism to power it. And the mechanism is essentially a turning off the switch button, and it's starting to get a fairly broken at the moment, so it's probably not going to work properly. Who knew? We're going to continue because we aren't particularly going to go into the guts of what this guy is. I'm going to go a little bit into it. This is important. You'll have a look at those. I think they call them dissipators. We'll move them out of the way. And this is another resistor, which I think basically makes sure that the componentry of this device here isn't fried. So I'm not worried about frying it, so I'm just going to grab it and reef it off. I've got wire cutters, but realistically, we're not using this again. We can look into that later on if you want, and I know that usually the connection here is silver. Yeah, as a matter of fact, I know for a fact that the connection here is silver. You can see it. So there's another piece of silver there. There's another piece of silver solder, I do believe, there. I'll just go right in, have a look. Yeah, silver solder. That's a resistor. Now that's can you see the difference in the metal? That's kind of the giveaway that you suspect it's silver, just so that you know. And I haven't really gotten into the duck's guts of this, but this stem coming out of the resistor, capacitor, something that ends in that also probably is silver, but I could be wrong. So, but it's a component, so I'm not necessarily going to worry too much about it. What I do is I just nick the silver bit off. And if people like those things, they will be crying. There's another piece of silver here, and I'm pretty certain that this wire that's leading in and out of it, I think that's silver as well, but I don't know for sure, so I'm leaving that out of the pure silver pile. But as you can see, we're starting to build up quite a tally of silver. So let's have a look here. All right, so we've got probably some gold here. There is not very much gold in these devices, just don't get excited. I'm hunting silver. We must be very, very quiet. That's all I'm doing. This looks like stainless to me. It's not even that. Put that out there so you can see. There it is attached to the magnet. So there are two chunks of copper there that are sitting right in there. See that? So on this capacitor, we can have a look at what that says. I think it's just a step down thingamy-bob. Basically, it's all to make sure that the electronics aren't fried. I'm going to stick this in with the components. I'm going to stick here. I'll stick it in with I'll stick it in with other stuff. I won't get it confused. All right. So where are we up to? So we've got a situation here where we've got the switch, which is activated by magic, which is powered by the thing that I've just taken apart, powered by the artist formerly known as this. what does it all do? So my best guess as to what's going on is, this is the magical device. You'll see that there's actually some wires heading into a component that I am going to refer to now as the octopus. You'll see why. We're going to get all of these little pieces and doovies and whatnots off. I'm going to zoom out too. Now also, when I say it's silver, take it with a grain of salt as well. I am still trying to determine what the silver content of all the components are. There's certain reasons why I think that maybe we've got a lot, and certain reasons why I think we might not have as much as I think. So here are two silver little connectors which go to the diffusers. Now what I might actually talk about very quickly is the diffuser is exactly that. When there's a huge amount of charge that's been pushed into the device, it actually gets pumped out through these diffusers and, well, diffused. They look like they are copper. They are not. They are copper coated, just ferrous stuff. So quite boring, but when you first see it, you go, ooh, that's exciting. Nothing. So these guys here, let's just test them. As far as I've been able to ascertain, all of the screws that are in the device are ferrous. So I am not going to waste a lot of time trying to determine if those things are ferrous or not. Trouble also is, though, that these guys, generally speaking, it's a 50-50 as to whether they are ferrous or not. If it's going in, sometimes ferrous, sometimes silver, if or copper or something. If going out, almost always ferrous. And you'll see the thing that I was talking about earlier. Okay, so this is there is a connector there. We'll test that one because it's looking a bit suspicious, but I think that's silver. At the very least, it's non-ferrous. Right. So we've nearly freed the octopus from its mount. I know from the basic design of these bad boys that there is a screw at the base here that you've got to unscrew to get this guy out. So ain't nobody got time for that. So what we're going to do is we're just going to break it open. How am I going with my description of things? Where's my screwdriver? The Phillips head, boy, the Phillips head. Quote from Iron Eagle, there it is. Actually, I was looking for the flat blade. Just trying to lever. There we go. And when it's brittle, see that just lifts out now. Now, as far as I can tell, there's nothing left in here. There's just a spring and a screw. And sometimes, although not in this particular unit, there will be either an aluminium or a brass rivet which goes through. As a matter of fact, I can show you on these guys. There you go. Aluminium rivets. Basically, they make them a complete pain to get into. That's why I didn't choose one of these to showcase, even though it's a lot simpler. So that's that completely trashed now. And we're left with the switch itself, which is here, connected to some arms. I haven't seen that arrangement before, but that's okay. That will be either stainless or ferrous. Well, hope springs eternal. I'll try and bend it. It's pretty solid. I think it's just stainless, but we'll give it a go later on. If it's steel, it will melt. It won't melt, basically. And I think we'll find that it won't melt. Now, there's some brass components within here, and I could spend a lot of time just opening this up, but basically what you'll find is there's some kind of trip mechanism sitting there that basically holds that and releases when it contacts this little doobie here, I do believe. think that's how it all works. There is a doobie that it might be in there that basically makes this switch go on and off. And that's basically where that guy's story ends. And as I said before, this guy works on magic. But what I will do is I'll explain what the magic is. Here's our octopus. So the... well, no, yes. I'm going to get rid of that cable tie. So basically what you've got here is you've got a couple of very big cables. You can see those cables. They're massive. And sadly, I was hoping that they would be a different variety, but that's all right. For the demonstration purposes, this works. These are probably silver, but you can see how big and thick they are. And you can see how they are wrapping around this core here. So when you see something wrapping around something else, especially if it's ferrous, and I happen to know that this is magnetic, you probably can't tell. This is magnetic, so it's something metal wrapping around a magnetic core, essentially. You're suspecting a solenoid, and a solenoid is exactly that, a loop of wire, which usually carries a current. So what's the solenoid doing here? And I do apologise to any electricians around here. It's a part of something that they often call a relay. So this thing is essentially calibrated so that when a huge amount of current comes through here, when it gets beyond a certain amount, it'll actually create a magnetic field within the core here, and that magnetic field will create an electric current in this wire here, which will then feed to this mechanism here, which then pushes the button or whatever it is, which then activates the trip lever over here, and then the whole business turns off. And that's how a safety switch works. So that's all very interesting. We're going to get rid of the magical box now. As an aside, that wire I do strongly suspect has at least got a bit of silver and probably has got some gold in it. So very, very lucrative little piece of tech. So here we have these guys, and what you'll see with these is you will see that when we zoom right in, you can actually see that there's just that silver, there's just a silver sheath around the edge of it. And I do believe that this whole business here is silver, although I'm not going to bet my life on it. Also over here, this wire, I do believe it's silver. I could be wrong. It's got that kind of goldy tint, which is silver mixed with copper. That wire has also been silver soldered onto this particular item. So we've got silver on silver on silver on silver here, probably. Or alternately, we've got tin on tin on tin on tin. If you've paid $50 for one of these things, it's a lotto. It's just a lotto. Some are made in the 60s, and apparently they don't do squat. They don't have anything in them. So what I'm doing here is I'm just cutting them off, because I've done this a few times, and this is probably the most annoying part of the entire business. Oddly enough, this is the first time I've used wires. Have I even got the normal thing that I've got? Okay, well normally they are essentially a solid piece of silver. Really thick, 1/16 of an inch. Does that sound right, Americans? About 2 or 3 times the thickness of that. About 2 mil. Should know if 2 mils is 1/16 of an inch, shouldn't I? These things, where do you find these things called brains, yeah? The thing about silver is it's quite malleable. Therefore, it's hard to cut it with tin snips. Have I got the other snippers here? No, I don't. Yeah, I've got the other tin snips around somewhere. So because I suspect these guys are silver, they're going into the silver reclamation for the time being. So it seems to me that all of the silver that is in this particular unit is actually of the white variety. I was expecting more copper mixed to silver, but that's okay. That means that we're going to end up with a higher purity silver at the end of it. But I don't mind having the low purity silver because it's quite attractive. I'll show you that in a little while. There we go. Yoink. So that'll just go straight in with the silver. And what we'll do is we'll just weigh it up in the end. And we'll assume, for the sake of argument, that this is all silver. Just be prepared for the reality that it might not be. We're going to assume that wire is silver too, and we're going to assume that connection is silver, but we'll try and get rid of as many sheaths as possible because we'll try and be as realistic as possible. Stuff that. Realism be damned. Okay, so here we go. There's another piece of silver. Here's another chunk of silver. Another chunk of silver. Yeah. You can see why I'm interested in this, can't you? Another chunk of silver. Right. Now, what I'll do is I will carefully unscrew this. Like I said, I don't think it is pure silver, obviously, because of the colour. But once you get one of these wires going, you should be able to get the rest of them out. It's going to be one of these guys. Come on, you can do it. That's what we've got this one for. There we go. This is the last one of that one. Well, we may as well just start pulling them all out. What we'll do is we won't bother desheathing them because they're quite tedious to sort out. And we'll just remember a couple of grams or fraction of an ounce or whatever you want to use. Corn kernels, 700-pound chariot wheels, I don't care. Come on. Why won't you go? What I'll do is I'll just use tin snips again and snip it off. Just ordinarily I take a lot more care, but I think that the demonstration principle means that sometimes things take longer. Then they should. There we go. So that's a piece of silver going into silver. That's a chunk of silver going in with the silver. Any more? Yes, there. Let's take the sheathing off, because that tiny little sheath will matter, won't it? Or will we? Can I be asked? Yes, I can. Woohoo! Okay, so now if you say in the comments, that's not silver, I'll believe you. But we're just making an assumption for the sake of the video because it makes it more fun. More silver. Okay, so I think we can assume that the cable here, I was hoping that the cable would actually be not silver, so we could actually have a non-silver and silver section, because the ferrous material isn't going to get weighed at all because it's, well, ferrous. Right, there we go, silver. So have a look in here. That is the silver so far. We're not going to get much more than that, I don't think. Okay, so let's get this done. So that's a bit of copper. It is copper with silver infused, but I think we'll just leave it at that because we'll leave it as dirty electronics. No. So look, Okay, so let's see if we can quickly get this guy open. There we go. All right, so this is the thing that wraps around the solenoid. Now what can I do? Will it easily unravel? Not sure what that powder is, whether it's, you know, breathable or not. So treat it with caution is all I say. So what I'm thinking is that this powder will be some kind of polymer which helps to space out the material here. And this material, although it is ferrous, I am deeply suspicious of it because it's magnetic, but it's extremely heavy. So I'm wondering whether there is actually some other exotic compound that's been alloyed with it. There we go. So you can see that powder. It's like a magic trick, isn't it? Behold, nothing up my sleeve except possibly cancer now. And usually there is a small silver strip, which is the entire purpose of this venture. No, can't see it. I'll just snip it. But you can see also, we'll just have a quick look at this material. Yeah, it does look ferrous, but at the same time it's got that silvery sheen to it. So I'm pretty certain that it is iron mixed with silver or copper or brass or tungsten or uranium or something. Anywho, let's see if we can just snip this open and see if we can get to that thing that I was trying to get to. Tell you what, I picked the heaviest one because I'm going, that is the one that's most likely to play ball. Once this camera shuts down, I'll probably open up another one and it'll all be dismantled in 3 seconds. And I'll have all the components very easily laid out. The explanation will be very simple. And he goes and has a look and sees what he gets. What did he get? Not a sausage. Not a sausage. Not a sausage. What's the time, Echoes? I got it written on a piece of paper. Does anyone know where that came from? All right. So that was relatively uninspiring. That's what we've got there. I should take the plastic off it, but I can't be bothered. We're at 40 minutes anyway. It should have been like a 10-minute teardown, but nope. So we'll go to the fun and we will weigh this. So let's just clear all of the paraphernalia. The reason why I didn't magnetically test most of the stuff is because I kind of knew. I will do a few samples, and that'll be embarrassing when it all shows up as magnetic ones. So let's have a look. So that is coming in at 59 grams. So what I would suggest is that we assume 10% of that is copper. So basically -5. So if you call it 55 grams. And at the current rate, I do believe it's $2 US a gram. So we're looking at, you know, basically $110 worth of stuff in that tiny little circuit breaker. And we've got this one here and I've got that one there. In case you're interested, the biblical talent is 75 pounds of silver. So I don't quite have that, but it's quite a lot for what it is. So I thought you'd be interested. If you see one of those just on the side of the road or somewhere, just pick it up because it's actually well worth getting, presuming that it's the true 59 grams of silver that is in there. So have a lovely day. That's all I've got for you today. Dr. Phil out.
It's Dr. Phil.
Good bird.